Okay, welcome to another TED Talk. Today, we're going to talk about candidate nurture. Candidate nurture is one of my favorite subjects in two senses. One, I think it's an extremely viable, very important strategy for any talent acquisition professional to employ. And two, it's one of the most underused strategies. So there's a great deal of opportunity here for people to increase the veracity of their pipeline, reduce time to hire, spread brand awareness. There's a lot of good stuff going to come over the next few minutes here. So, Stacey, my enthusiasm for candidate nurture is because.
And you want me to fill in the blank?
That is my hope that you can take it from that point.
I think the biggest thing about candidate nurture is the amount of people that are in the database. So when you guys are out posting jobs and pulling candidates into the database, you create a wealth of people that exist there. And now I don't know that every organization uses that to their benefit. So I think that one of your big bonuses of nurturing your database is you're using things that have already been paid for. We're not having to purchase those yet again.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I love about the candidate nurture experience or deployment of that strategy is if you think of your ATS, your CRM, and you think of it yourself as a marketer, you have the ultimate list. It has the name of the people that qualify. It has their skill set. It has the time they've done the job. It has their contact information. It even has if they're interested. So if you
think
about,
all of them have shown an interest. I mean, if they've applied to your database, they've shown interest. So you've already got.
That's my point. They live there. So they live there within that database, and you have a choice whether to use that information or not. So let's take most companies have some application of candidate nurture in the sense that based on the recruiter, they will go out and keep in touch with candidates. But again, most companies do not have a strategic approach to candidate nurture in the sense that they don't have some 24/7 mechanism that goes out and continues to reinforce the brand, the opportunity, and the potential of working for for your company over time. So let's think about the candidate experience. The candidate applies, they get a yes or no, and then they never hear from you again. And then 3 weeks later, you have that job open. Good recruiters will go back in and look at the database. Some recruiters just do not. They go on, they post an ad, they get applicants, they screen 10, they interview 3, and they hire 1. And it's rinse and repeat the next time. We need to change that dynamic. Your thoughts, Stacey?
No, and I do. I think when we speak to recruiters, if they're using their database, it is basically on a ad hoc basis. They're using it for one position, the original position, and then they might go back out to what you said and find candidates again. But what I don't think people think about is how much experience somebody has. If they applied 2 years ago and they're in that position, they probably improved their skills and their knowledge. And so making sure that we're continually talking to that database so that they know opportunities exist and keeping that brand in front of them is a great way to build your pipeline, continually build people that are going to want to work for the organization and already know something about it since they've done the research.
Yeah, let's talk about a couple of applications. One is brand awareness. So if you're a major organization, you're Google, you're pick a big brand, Apple, you don't need to reinforce your brand. But if you're a smaller organization, big in your space, but not known nationally or even locally because you're specific to that segment, it's difficult to get your brand out. But once people have applied, once people live within your applicant tracking system, your CRM, you can build.
They've said yes to getting materials, communications, anything from you.
Yeah. They've said yes to receiving your information. That's where you build brand. Now, you don't have to go for the automatic close, but you just need to keep them aware. Talk about some of the ways to build a strategy in terms of the content we can develop, Stacey.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of organizations have a CRM, and to your point, they're not using them effectively. They're putting candidates in there for certain specific positions. But what we're trying to do is build something that's a little bit bigger. So you want to build out a cadence of communications where you're talking to the potential job seeker about the culture of the organization, the give back. Corporate citizenship is a big thing that we hear. We want to not give them jobs every time we're sending an email. We don't want it to be a spam of jobs. We want to educate them on why the organization might be a good fit for them. We say on career websites that we're trying to screen people in and screen people out. I think that does the same thing when we're talking about the email communications. They can be very targeted to the type of position you're looking for. So you can have things about the culture or the training that's specific to a sales position or to a healthcare position. But then you can have more general communications about the brand and the culture and the environment and anything that we're doing from a philanthropy perspective. There's a lot of great things that can be communicated to the external audience that we don't do very well outside of maybe the things that are posted on the website. But how do we create something where it continues to talk to somebody about why they should join? And that's through that email communication. It takes some time to set up. I think the biggest challenge that we hear from clients is to set up. What should I say? How should I say it? How often should they receive it? Those are a lot of things that we come across, and they don't always have the resources. They don't always have marketing sitting in the wings waiting to help them. So they don't have the resources to create that content and develop that cadence to say, this is what we're going to send. And then the other part of that challenge is what do they do with the new people? Are they automatically opted into those same streams of email communications, or does that manually have to be put in there? So I think there's some nuances that get people flustered, and they tend to not use this as a route to continually build their brand.
Yeah, and I think that comes to the disposition of the applicant when they come through the system.
Yeah.
Do you want to continue conversation? For example, if you have a silver medalist, a declined offer, someone that was raw for that position that could be good later, who do you want to keep in touch with as a recruiter? You don't have to put everybody through this.
And I almost think that you should put everybody through it. Maybe there's two different segments of it. Maybe there's the silver medalist or the declined offers, but then there's the people that have shown an interest and said, I want to know more about the organization. I was interested in one position, but in the future, I might be interested in others. And again, they continue to build their skill set over the years of, once they've applied to the time that you're actually reaching out to them. I think we continue to harvest that database so that you guys have a pool of candidates that you can reach out to, and they understand who you are.
And in terms of the pool of candidates, because you employ this candidate nurture program however you disposition your applicants, when they hear from you next time, they will recognize the name. The first time they may have heard the company is when they applied. And in many instances, in most organizations, that's the last time they hear the name of your organization. But using this kind of program, you can differentiate yourselves from all the other people you compete with. So if you're hiring for a technical position, just because you're in one particular segment, you are competing with Google, Microsoft, Apple. You need to differentiate yourself from those organizations. So one of the things we consistently talk about through these TAD Talks is differentiation, and having a strong candidate nurture program, which puts out positive and interesting information, some calls to action so you can have data to collect along the way to see its effectiveness, I think is a very important differentiator.
I think we can have some fun with them too. I mean, have polls, talk to people, have them. I mean, people want to respond to things and they want to give feedback. Do surveys, have polls in these emails, try to make them interactive so that somebody doesn't just, read it quickly and delete. How do we get them engaged so that they might actually find themselves back on the career website looking at the opportunities that are available?
I think one of the terrifying things for a recruiter when they do these kind of things, or an organization when they try to set it up, is the threat of purchasing yet another new software. And
Right.
let me assure you, this does not have to happen within a new software. You have this tool within your applicant tracking system. You have this capability definitely within your CRM. It can be set up. It's a marketing module that you just need to learn or have somebody learn so that this information can be deployed. 2 or 3 impact. Go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry.
and I was just going to say, I think if you don't have those tools, or the ATS doesn't have the capabilities that you're talking about, there's plenty of marketing automation tools that can be pretty easily bolted on and allow it to work on your behalf. So you're not having to do a ton of work. It just works for that one specific initiative. It's not something you have to buy a massive tech stack for.
Yeah, and if you have Avature, for example, is just picking up one CRM, it has a marketing function within it. iCIMS has a marketing function within it. You can bolt this kind of strategy, but it's not just a series of emails, it's a thought. And let me give you a compare and contrast. Years ago, we used to have a very popular thing about a talent community, and people would sign up for a talent community, and then they would be spammed with every job that came up that they clicked the box to.
We say that lovingly.
Yes, that is not a candidate nurture program. That is a spam program. What we're talking about is sending information that is actually valuable to the candidate. Doesn't go to close every single time. You're just distributing information to that individual. So when you do reach out with him for a job or her for a job, they say, I remember that company. They've kept in touch with me. Google, Apple, and Microsoft have not. This company is living its values and extending them to me, and now I know more about them. I'd like to apply.
I think we get asked a lot about passive candidates, and I honestly don't think there's passive candidates anymore because there's talent communities, because you have job alerts on every job board out there. So why not have your organization take part of that? And if we're going to say passive, this might be the biggest form of this, is making sure that you're nurturing that database. I think we talked to a client a couple of years ago, and this was probably 4 years ago, and we talked about men need to see something 9 times before they react, and females need to see it 19 times. So you have to make sure that brand impression is getting out there for people to understand who your brand is. So again, these people that have shown that interest once, let's be in front of them with these tools.
Yeah, and just to close, the ROI of this, we're often asked, how do we, and if you speak to job boards, they'll tell you how to extend the brand. So what that means is extending the brand by spending more money, getting more impressions, people will hear more of you. Well, that's going to have an impact on your overall recruitment spend. What we're talking about is taking an owned asset, which is your CRM, your applicant tracking system, and continuing to use that and to market to it. Just like any marketer would, you have someone who's identified an interest in your product. Therefore, we need to continue to communicate with them until they come to a point where they're going to buy. So go ahead.
The brilliance of this is everything can be tracked. I mean, so you can track the emails, the opens, the clicks. I mean, ideally, we could track actually into the applicant tracking system by using certain types of links. So everything, you could tell what the ROI is on this. It's not free because you paid for it once, but you're actually recycling and using it again.
So for me, this is one of the most underused pieces. And you as a professional can think about, how do you use your candidate database? How do you communicate it? What information are you sending out? Is it done on a per recruiter basis, or is it done globally as an organization? And then the per recruiter emails then have more receptiveness because someone's more aware of the company. So for me, it closes the loop in terms of ROI. So the point of a media spend is to generate candidates. You have this. So there's 2 ways you can go. You can get the candidates, put them in your applicant tracking system, have them apply for a job, and then if that doesn't work, throw them away. Or you can go through the same process, but put them into an ongoing living database from which you can pull over time. Are you going to immediately pull everyone and fill every opening just because you start marketing? No. But over time, as you build brand awareness, as your company grows, if you have more information, people are going to know who you are, and you're going to be able to go to your database with more speed and accuracy and relevance than you can, which may impact the amount of money you spend on your actual media.
Yeah, I think some of the brilliance of this is reducing the reliance on job boards. I mean, we hear it all the time. We spend so much money on job boards, but you're using it in one and done is not the way to translate that spend.
Yeah, lots of time we hear, what else can we do? What else can we do? What can we do other outside of database? What can we do outside of job boards? Well, this is one thing you do. You've captured people, market to them, then you can hire from there.
Right. And they're probably going to be a lot warmer candidate.
So with that, we conclude this particular TED Talk on the fascinating subject of candidate nurture. Thank you for getting to this point, and listen again for more information just like this.